I changed one report to save a coworker and ruined everything. I knew the moment I clicked send that something was going to break. Not immediately, not loudly, but permanently. I work in operations at a mid-sized logistics company. Nothing glamorous, deadlines, spreadsheets, constant pressure to optimize. I'm not a manager, but I'm not entry-level either. I sit in that uncomfortable middle where I'm trusted with sensitive information, but don't have real authority to change policy. And that's where this started. 6 months ago, we got a new department head. I'll call her Lena. She was sharp, efficient, intimidating in that calm, smiling way. The kind of boss who never raises her voice, but somehow makes the room quieter when she walks in. Within weeks, productivity went up. So did fear. Lena introduced a new internal review system. Officially, it was about performance visibility. Unofficially, it tracked everything: late logins, extended breaks, minor errors that used to be ignored. She told us it would help identify training needs. What she didn't say was that the data would be used to decide who stayed. Here's the part one haven't told anyone at work. I had access to the raw reports. And I knew what was coming before anyone else did. There was a list. Not a formal one. Just a flagged set of employees marked as high cost, low resilience. Mostly older staff, a few single parents, people who had been there forever but didn't adapt fast enough to the new systems. One name on that list hit me in the chest. Mark. Mark trained me when I started, covered my mistakes, picked up my shifts when my dad was sick. He wasn't lazy, he was tired. And not great with new software. I told myself not to panic. I told myself it was just data. Then Lena asked me into her office. She closed the door, smiled, and said, "I'd like your help validating the findings. You're close to the team, you understand their realities." That sentence felt like a test. Because validating the findings meant confirming that the list made sense. And if I didn't, I would be on the next list. I went home that night and didn't sleep. I kept replaying every favor Mark had ever done for me, every time he joked about retirement like it was a fantasy he'd never afford. I also replayed my own bank balance, my rent, my health insurance, my very replaceable position. Here's where I crossed the line, or maybe where I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't warn Mark. Not directly. Instead, I adjusted the data. Not enough to erase him, just enough to move him out of that immediate action category. I justified it as correcting context the system couldn't see: experience, mentorship, institutional knowledge. I told myself I was balancing an unfair equation. For about 3 weeks, nothing happened. I started to believe I'd gotten away with it. Then Lena called another meeting. This time, HR was there. She didn't accuse anyone. She talked about data inconsistencies, about how trust was essential when hard decisions had to be made. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. Because of these inconsistencies, we're accelerating restructuring. We can't afford uncertainty. They didn't just cut the flagged employees. They cut deeper. Entire roles were eliminated. Severance packages shrank. The timeline collapsed. People who might have had months to prepare had days. Mark was still laid off. So were 3 others who hadn't been on the original list. One of them was a single mom who had just transferred teams. Her metrics looked bad because she was still learning. I knew that. I didn't touch her data. I watched her cry in the parking lot. That night, Lena emailed me privately. She didn't mention the manipulation outright. She just said she was disappointed and that my judgment had forced her hand. That leadership sometimes meant making harsher decisions to prevent future risk. She offered me a promotion, more responsibility, better pay, a non-disclosure agreement attached. I signed it. Mark texted me a week later. Said he heard I'd moved up, said he was happy for me, asked if I'd be a reference. I stared at the message for a long time. Because if I hadn't intervened, maybe only Mark would have been cut. If I had warned him, maybe I would have lost my job too. If I had done nothing, would that have been more ethical? I still don't know. All I know is that I tried to save one person and more people got hurt. And I benefited from it. So tell me, was I wrong for manipulating the data to protect someone I cared about? Or was the real mistake believing I could interfere without consequences?